No comment. I did not have access to my phone.
Prosecutors say you defrauded the American public. Will you resign?
I have no clue of what you guys are talking about. No, I will not. Excuse me.
You will not resign. They said that you stole people's identities. Did you steal people's identities?
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week, and ladies and gentlemen, they don't get dumber than George Santos from the People's Republic of New York. He is the worst representative in America, and I don't say that lightly, and yes, I realize there's a lot of buffoons out there. The reason why I say that is because a new superseding indictment was just issued by the DOJ concerning 23 additional charges against Santos, ranging from wire fraud to identity fraud to credit card fraud, all the frauds. He's been charged with all the frauds. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any shows, and while you're here and if you like what you see, please be sure to smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff. Let's get into it, but before we do, a little bit of a disclaimer, because I am an attorney. We're going to be discussing indictments, charges. We're not going to be talking about findings of fact. They're allegations brought by the Department of Justice. George Santos is innocent until proven guilty, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because if these allegations are indeed true, then this is the slimiest politician I've seen probably in my adult life.
Breaking tonight, federal prosecutors on Long Island have filed new criminal charges against Congressman George Santos. A 23-count superseding indictment, meaning a new indictment, replaces one filed earlier against the New York Republican. Now, prosecutors say Santos falsely reported to the Federal Elections Commission that he had loaned $500,000 to his campaign in an attempt to convince Republican Party officials that he was a serious candidate. Oh, at $500,000, when he actually, they say, had less than $8,000 in his personal accounts.
So in addition to the lies that he told voters and he told party officials locally, he's now being charged with defrauding the Republican Party to show them that he's a viable candidate by inflating the amount of money he claimed to have had in his accounts when he actually didn't have it. So let's be clear. This is probably the biggest backstab I've ever seen within a party. And I've seen a few in my time locally. Everybody wanted to be the king of the anthill in local parties. But this is a fraud on a party. The people who are supposed to support you and that you're supposed to support, this is the biggest fraud I've seen ever committed against a person's own party. Unbelievable. And he thought he'd get away with this.
They also accused him of charging more than $44,000 to his campaign over a period of months, using credit cards belonging to donors without their knowledge.
That should infuriate everyone. People donate to candidates because they trust them, because they believe in their message, and they want them to be their representative in the halls of government. This is a betrayal of all betrayals to voters. It's bad enough that he's betrayed every voter by lying to them about his education, his background, his heritage. But to do this to donors, the people who put their money where their mouth is, I'm speechless. I can't believe that someone would stoop this low.
In one case, he charged $12,000 to a donor's credit card and transferred, quote, the vast majority of that money, they say, into his personal bank account.
So that's just being a thief. That's just being an out-and-out thief. Not the political thief that you normally think of. Just out and out stealing from someone. I can't even fathom a candidate doing that. And again, I've been in politics for a while. I was involved in my party apparatus locally in my home of Brooklyn, New York. I've never seen anything like this. This is, I keep saying it's the ultimate betrayal because it really is.
Charges come less than a week after Santos's former treasurer pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud, admitting she fraudulently reported hundreds of thousands in fake loans that Santos had claimed he made to his campaign.
And you have to believe that whatever deal that this treasurer made, these charges are resulting from that information. From the DOJ, Congressman George Santos charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, false statements, falsification of records, aggravated identity theft, and credit card fraud. A 23-count superseding indictment was filed today in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York, which includes Long Island, where George Santos lives and represents, charging George Santos with 1 count of conspiracy to commit offenses against the United States, 2 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of making materially false statements to the Federal Election Commission, 2 counts of falsifying records submitted to obstruct the FEC, 2 counts of aggravated identity theft, and 1 count of access device fraud, in addition to the 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public funds, and 2 counts of making materially false statements to the United States House of Representatives that were charged in the original indictment, and a partridge in a pear tree. The DOJ goes on in further detail about each of these schemes that they're alleging. The party program scheme. During the 2022 election cycle, Santos was a candidate for House of Representatives. We know this, he won, unfortunately. Nancy Marks, who pleaded guilty on October 5th to related conduct, was the treasurer for his principal Congressional Campaign Committee. I told you she'd be involved in this, and that's where these charges are coming from. During this election cycle, Santos and Marks conspired with one another to devise and execute a fraudulent scheme to obtain money for the campaign by submitting materially false reports to the FEC on behalf of the campaign, in which they inflated the campaign's fundraising numbers for the purpose of misleading the FEC. Specifically, the purpose of the scheme was to ensure that Santos and his campaign qualified for a program administered by the National Party Committee, pursuant to which the National Party Committee would provide financial and logistical support to Santos's campaign. He lied to get the RNC and to get the House Republicans to help him in his campaign, to help him win. He defrauded the people that he is currently around right now. That's the allegation. The man's a pariah. To qualify for the program, Santos had to demonstrate, among other things, that his congressional campaign had raised at least $250,000 from third-party contributors in a single quarter. It's not easy to be a candidate, especially for Congress, folks. You need to prove your worth. But Santos couldn't prove his worth, so he defrauded them, he conned them, he manipulated the system. To create the public appearance that his campaign had met this benchmark, Santos and Marks agreed to falsely report to the FEC that at least 10 family members of Santos and Marks had made significant financial contributions to the campaign, when Santos and Marks both knew that these individuals had neither made the reported contributions nor given authorization for their personal information to be included in their false public reports. Remember all those discussions about where he got money to run his campaign from, all the contributions he got? Who gave it to him? There you go. They lied about it, according to the DOJ. Let's go on to the credit card scheme. In addition, between approximately December 2021 and August 2022, Santos devised and executed a fraudulent scheme to steal the personal identity and financial information of contributors to his campaign. This is getting me upset because I got emails from George Santos going back to 2020 wanting me to interview him for shows that I was doing and also for contributions. It was always in those emails. I could have been one of these people that he defrauded. He then charged contributors' credit cards repeatedly without their authorization. Because of these unauthorized transactions, funds were transferred to Santos's campaign, to the campaigns of other candidates for elective office, and to his own bank account. He enriched himself to the detriment of his own donors. For example, in December 2021, one contributor that they're not identifying texted Santos and others to make a contribution to his campaign, providing billing information for 2 credit cards. In the days after he received the billing information, Santos used the credit card information to make numerous contributions to his campaign and affiliated political committees in amounts exceeding applicable contribution limits without the contributor's knowledge or authorization. To mask the true source of these contributions and thereby circumvent the applicable campaign contribution limits, Santos falsely identified the contributor for one of the charges as one of his relatives. In the following months, Santos repeatedly charged the contributor's credit card without the contributor's knowledge, attempting to make at least $44,800 in charges and repeatedly concealing the true source of funds. This man is scum. He's the scum of the earth. He is the worst of politicians. He's a caricature of politicians. And yeah, while I'm heated right now, I'm going to do what others wouldn't do. Let's see what Santos has to say, if anything, about this. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
No comment. I did not have access to my phone. I have no
Prosecutors say
clue.
you defrauded the American
have
public.
no
Will you
clue
resign?
of what you guys are talking about. No, I will not. Excuse me.
He's still not going to resign. He's unrepentant. He's toxic. He's radioactive. He's the worst of buffoons that I discuss in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. The radioactive buffoon is the worst of the worst, completely irredeemable, but also affects those around him, including like Nancy Marks, the campaign treasurer, who was charged and copped a plea and is now turned against George Santos to bring him down. George Santos is radioactive. We see that because his treasurer was brought into this. His family members are going to be dragged into this as well because he used their names. And this has infected everyone in the Republican Party because the association with George Santos is tainting the Republican brand in the House.
They said that you stole people's identities. Did you steal people's identities? Did you commit identity fraud?
vote in the
voters?
What do you have
Will
to
you
say
step
to your
down?
constituents?
I will not. I have no comment. I was in conference like everyone else without my phone, so I have nothing to talk about. I need to take a look at my
Did you commit large fraud? That was a
No,
pretty
I did
basic
not.
question.
The
Did you
answer
identity
to that
fraud?
is no.
Oh,
Are you okay, sir?
man down.
Did you charge to your credit card donors money? Did you use their credit cards to reward yourself? That's the allegation.
No. I will look at it.
Why shouldn't you be able to vote in the speaker's election? Such a key election when you've been charged with all these crimes.
Well then, okay. I want to focus in on that last question that the reporters were asking, that he's going to be voting for the next Speaker of the House because of this slim margin. Every vote counts, apparently. So radioactive George Santos is in these conferences voting on the next Speaker. But this looms even more significant because of this shutdown. George Santos is also the subject of an ethics probe, and that probe can't go forward if the House can't conduct business. It's just another example of the Republican brand creating a circular firing squad. We saw what happened with Lauren Boebert. We see this fiasco now with the House being shut down because there's no speaker. And now these new charges. So Santos didn't really give us anything except a flat denial, and he didn't know what we were talking about. But I think if we look back at past interviews, there may be some statements he made in the public sphere that could come back to haunt him. So this clip is from a prior interview when the original indictment came down from the DOJ.
$700,000. It's been asked about a lot. You loaned it to your campaign. The question has been, where did it come from? How did George Santos have $700,000?
I worked at I had a consulting firm, and we'll leave it at that because that's also part of this entire investigation with the House Ethics Committee.
If you remember from the allegations as levied from the DOJ, they say that there was no money that was loaned to the campaign from him. It was all made up. This is a statement in public that could come around and bite him. It appears that his defense is going to be that he loaned himself this money from his own hard work. I'm going to be very interested to see what those receipts are and where those receipts came from. There's this idea in the law called falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. You lie to me once, there's no reason for me to believe anything else that comes out of your mouth. If indeed he has these receipts, then fine, he can defend himself against these charges. If he said this and then he doesn't have the receipts, there's no reason to believe him at all. At the end of the day, there are going to be court proceedings, there's going to be a trial, there's going to be evidence placed before a jury, and a jury of his peers are going to determine whether or not this slimeball is a fraud or not. I'm calling him a slimeball, and that's my personal opinion of him, based upon what I've seen in the public sphere of his interactions with people, that door slam that you saw right there, his snide remarks to other people, and the lies that we've already caught him in. Remember that prior video that I pointed to in the top right corner earlier? George Santos has already been proven to be a liar, so that idea of falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus should apply already, at least politically, in my opinion. The man's a known liar, and they're catching him with even more lies, but worse, he's defrauded his own people, his own supporters, his own party. The man is completely irredeemable. He's toxic. He's radioactive. I want him out of the party. I want him out of Congress. Resign now. Yes, resign now before we go to court. You've caused enough damage to the Republican Party, to the Republican brand. I don't want to see you in public ever again for any office, ever. But hey, that's just my opinion. Tell me what you think of George Santos. Leave me a comment below the video. And if you like what you've seen in this video, please be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Share the show with your friends. And if you're so inclined, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. All that good stuff. Thanks for watching this long. I want to know what you think about this whole George Santos thing. Do you think he's as slimy as I do? Let me know in the comments. I want to have a conversation about this buffoon and any other buffoonery you want to talk about that's going on every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.